Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Girl, Is That Legal? This week, I got my co host, Deena, where we're going to talk about Joselines Cabaret. We got to talk about this, y'all, because there are a lot of legal myths that went on with Joseline's Fight Club slash Cabaret. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring Deena in, then we're going to run the countdown. All right. Hey, Deena, thanks
Hey
so much for
everyone.
joining, girl.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. My little earphone is kind of playing with me right now. But we're going to go ahead. We'll run the countdown and we'll let some more people go ahead and join. All right. Well, welcome back, Deena. Thank you so much for joining us. Now,
Thank
on
you.
your channel, you did an excellent job last week of going in and explaining the whole Joseline's Cabaret. Now, you've been following it all season, right?
Yes, because I do review the show. So I have been following it and I have been making comments. It's funny because me and my daughter review the show. So there's like the 18-year gap of the two different opinions. So I have been following it along the lines of I don't think that it's giving what it's supposed to give as far as women empowerment, allowing these girls to, use this as a stepping stool to get to a better place, the way Joseline talked to the women. And I kept saying, okay, well, they know what they signed up for. They know what they signed up for. And then, of course, there was all the fights. So then after
Yeah.
that, I start counting up the times that people had been injured and went to the emergency room. So first there was Black Diamond, when there
Okay.
was
Now, what
the
season was that?
brawl this season.
Oh, all of this is this season. So they're now in
All of this
season
is
three,
this
y'all.
season.
Okay. I pretty much
Yeah.
watch it from the clips on the Shade Room. Like, I have not
Yes.
yet come together to give them my $4.99 to watch this ladies fight club. But go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
So
don't
Black
either.
Diamond.
Me and my girls, we share subscriptions for everything. So the episode where there was a lot of girls fighting and one girl wet actually fought four girls in one episode. One of the girls that attempted to jump her hurt her, ended up with a sprained elbow and had to go to the emergency room.
I saw that. That was one of the white girls, right?
Yeah, Black Diamond.
Okay, Black Diamond. Gotcha.
Right. So then, there were several more fights, and then things kind of calmed down. Then there was Amber who jumped on Black Diamond, for saying the N word, and then I happened to know that they were taping the reunion, just based on everybody showing up in LA, and
Hmm.
then Joseline's page was taken down, and her first tweet was, "I just touched down in LA," and they took my Instagram page, let me find out what's going on. And that was Monday, and they were scheduled to tape the reunion Tuesday, and then we got all the tea dropped on us Wednesday morning when Amber and Kay Capri went live, and Amber was in the hospital. And I think subsequently later on, Riri also went to the hospital, and now Riri and Amber have the same attorney.
I saw that. Okay, yes. So I saw that. So let's go ahead and let's jump into it. You went into it really thoroughly. I want to encourage everybody to check out Deena's channel. Deena, your channel is Deena AKA Christina, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, Deena AKA. Well, it's basically her title here. And then
Mhm.
I'm not sure. This is broadcasting to different streams. But if you're not already following me, definitely go to my YouTube channel, which is Girl, Is That Legal? And follow me and view from there because I need to get my streams up, my views up so I can monetize it. But let's
Yes,
jump
girl.
into it. The question here is with Joseline's Cabaret, because see, Miss Joseline's crazy, but she went ahead and I'm going to post up her stream, her tweet so we can put it up here. She wrote, Jocelyn said, and for you Bless herself. Bless herself and her
Bless
ninth
her
grade
heart.
education. And for you dumb bees, when you sign up for a reality show, you cannot file a lawsuit against anyone on the show, you dummies. Now, she says this after she already admits to kicking the girl into tomorrow, stomping her on her ribs, and etc.
Right. And so she kicked Amber in the chest. I believe she also kicked Riri in the chest. And then it was either Black Diamond or Raven who was kicking Riri in the back. So that basically they were double teaming her. And then, of course, allegedly, this is all allegedly, and then allegedly Balistic, when Amber was getting the best of Joseline, it's been said by numerous people allegedly that Balistic put his hands on Amber and snatched her wig off and was physically punching her.
Once she stopped losing. Once Joseline was losing, he came in. Basically, he jumps into it too. All right. So here's how it works legally. So Joseline. Here's the thing. Just because you've been to prison doesn't mean you know the law. Okay? Just because you've been to jail don't mean you know the law. And this is just loud and wrong. It's not true. Because how a contract works is your contract is only between you and the person who signs on the bottom line. So for the other girls on the show, Amber and Riri and everyone, their contract is between them and Zeus. Not, not Joseline. Joseline doesn't sign their contract. While Joseline might be an executive producer, she doesn't sign the contract. So truly, that provision that they include that says you can't sue a castmate, really what Zeus is trying to do is to protect itself, meaning if a castmate hurts you, you're not going to sue Zeus for it. You can always sue the castmate because the castmate, you don't have a contract with your castmate. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. You don't have a contract. Your castmates don't even know how much money you make. And first and foremost, you can sue somebody who hasn't signed the same contract as you. Now, that doesn't mean that you might not get blackballed. Okay, so if you do sue a castmate, chances are they're not going to invite you to another season because they don't want to be wrapped up in all that. That just happens. Okay, but you'll see, like with the Bad Girls Club, that show that was on years ago, the Claremont twins sued their castmates, as well as there's another group of twins on the show. They call them the Ghost Twins. They sued the castmates. They sued the production company, all of them. So you absolutely can sue your castmates. It just becomes more gray when it's suing Zeus. The other reason you can absolutely sue your castmates is because under the law, you cannot contract out your right to pursue a criminal case for anything. So someone has asked, so can Joseline be sued individually? Absolutely. So Joseline can get sued individually and Balistic can get sued individually. Absolutely. And if Joseline has a separate company, a separate LLC or something that has not signed Amber's contract, then she can also sue Joseline's LLC. Because also, you cannot contract. So even if there is that provision, right, they call it a waiver. A waiver that says you can't sue for fights if you get hurt, whatever. The thing is, it does not cover deliberate acts. It doesn't cover deliberate acts. Same with like a car accident. If you ever read your auto insurance policy, what that policy says is if you intentionally ram your car into your ex-boyfriend and you hit him, which I've had one of those cases where you hit him on purpose, your insurance is not going to kick in to cover you. Same thing with this waiver. So even if there is a valid waiver for Zeus, let's say, right, that waiver does not apply if Zeus is standing there and encouraging people to beat each other up, or standing there and letting Balistic and Joseline jumped this girl while their security is just like doop 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 doop.
Well, and you know, allegedly they said that security was only supposed to protect Joseline, Balistic, and the members of the cabaret. However, it is also rumored that after Balistic put his hands on Amber, that he got touched up a little bit by the security team. And then I don't know if we're going to discuss this later, but Gaia had also did a video where they were begging her to go downstairs while all of this was going on and join in, and she left.
Got you. Yes, and also part of what the issue is and why even though Zeus, they have this provision, I'm sure that they have the provision, right? That says you can't sue. It actually probably, because we don't know that Joseline reads. I don't believe that Joseline reads, okay? I would believe that the provision says you cannot sue the network because they don't care about other people. They don't care what you do with your team. They'll say, you can't sue us for what your castmates do to you. Well, regardless, another reason and component of why that won't hold if Zeus knows what's up is because when you waive any right, it only counts if you're waiving your rights with what's called informed consent, meaning you know what you're walking into, you know what right you're waiving. And so here, I do not believe that not a single girl who signed that contract would have thought that what they would be agreeing to for what I heard was a mere $500 is that Balistic could come and beat their behinds and break their ribs.
Exactly. I don't know anybody would sign up for that.
Nobody would. Not for $500. What they probably were agreeing to was, I might get into it with some castmates over dancing, this, that, and the third. We'll have a girl fight and we'll move along. But I'm not agreeing to permanent injuries. I'm not agreeing, most importantly, to the host and the host's boyfriend beating me up. And then I'm just sitting there and have to take it.
Or the hospital bills
is supposed to be holding me back.
Or the hospital bills that I may be responsible for said beating.
Now, someone asked, is Balistic officially a part of the show? Great question. So I'm going to assume that because he was on the reunion, he is, right? Because anyone that they show, they're going to have them sign some form of a waiver.
And I believe I saw on there, he's some type of executive producer as well.
I saw that he was listed as the music producer, but he was not listed as a castmate. So that's another reason, London, that's another reason why he could be exempt as, to the extent the provision says you can't sue regarding castmates. He may not be considered a castmate because of the fact that really he was there and getting paid as a producer. But either way, once again, even if he's a castmate, she didn't sign a contract with him. She did, and think about it. If, let's say, the girl Amber, if Amber had a contract and that contract had to be signed by Balistic and said Balistic can beat my behind, who's gonna agree to that for $500?
Nobody.
No woman is agree that, okay, I'm going to go on this show and let this man beat me up, or even the host. I think most people were surprised that it was the host who's getting in on this foolishness. And actually, I'm going to play a clip for you guys that we have here of it's the beginning of the whole melee that occurs with Amber and so forth. So what you're going to see is that Joseline starts to get upset at Amber. And then Balistic starts yelling at Amber, complaining like it's late. At this point, apparently, it was supposed to start at 2:30 p.m. At this point, it's 2:30 a.m. And they're just getting started. And then you see Joseline pick up a metal candelabra and try and hit Amber in her head with it. Y'all,
then everybody else can talk. So she just wanted to keep inserting.
Almost fast forward to it because I can't bear to deal with this. Raising that here.
No, this video is the season 2 video.
Oh, this is season 2. Okay.
This is season 2. This goes to Balistic's attitude towards women.
women. Let me roll it back.
Actually,
so this is Balistic. He's getting involved with women's business.
Now you corny as shit.
And then watch, in just a few more seconds,
you corny
she's going to get up. She got the candelabra.
What the fuck you gonna do? Get your
This girl
motherfucking head knocked off. Bitch, get fucking head knocked off.
But they're supposed to be empowering.
Right.
That's what the fuck I'm talking about, man.
Let me talk to her.
Just straight foolish. Here, we'll put that up.
Yeah. So that's I had sent you that to show that this is how quickly it escalated last season in season 2. So to my understanding, they barely even got to the set to start taping. So if they were scheduled to start taping at 2:30 p.m., they didn't start till 2:30 a.m. At the time that I got the information, it was 7:30-ish my time, which would have been 5:30 a.m. California time. So somehow between 2:30 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., Amber ended up in the hospital. So I don't even know how much of the reunion was actually taped, if there's anything to edit or how they can even maneuver any of that. But it escalated really quickly. To my understanding from everybody that went on live, said basically they stepped on the stage and people just started fighting.
And as well, like Zeus is going to be in big trouble for this too, because it's pretty widespread knowledge that Joseline has a drug problem. She gets coked up allegedly on cocaine, which then gets her hyped up. It gets you like almost like steroid rage. Right? It gives you this rage where you get all amped up and you want to fight people. But when you know somebody has an issue like that, you can't just say, oh, well, you guys signed a waiver. That's not how that works. In fact,
you're not protecting anybody.
The waiver could be seen unapplicable or invalid because you didn't warn these people, oh, by the way, you might be getting beat up by a crackhead. Are you cool with that? And we all know the strength of a crackhead is something that is
the strength of many men, the strength of an army.
Oh yes, I mean, I have seen some boxed it out. I saw a crackhead move a big screen TV on their back in the 90s when I was over at my granny's house when I was playing sick when I was in like elementary school. I mean, the way they have the superhuman strength is truly impressive.
Exactly. It's crazy. And I don't think anybody would give up their right to be protected in that manner. Now, I'm sure they've watched previous seasons and they thought, oh, I might tussle with a castmate, nothing, that I'm not used to in my hood. But to get beat, like as Amber said, it's embarrassing to get beat on by a man privately, okay? Right. But now you've been beat on by a man publicly. There's probably some footage about it somewhere, and there's hundreds or thousands of hundreds of people on set. So it's definitely embarrassing and traumatizing for to get beat on by men you have no connection with.
No, absolutely. And see, the thing of it too, like some people say, well, I want to see in the chat, do y'all feel like they knew what they were getting as far as Balistic and Joseline and getting knocked around by them? Do you feel like they knew what they were signing up for when they came on the show? Because I feel like regarding their castmate, absolutely. But I was shocked when I realized that Joseline and oh boy were involved in this because they're supposed to be above it.
Right.
They're supposed to be above it. Yeah, she's learned nothing from her love and hip hop days. And the other thing about Zeus, what's interesting about Zeus is Zeus, because it's subscription only at this point, they don't have any ads. Usually it's the advertisers that will control this type of thing, like the violence on screen and stuff, because the advertisers will threaten to pull out. Well, here, because half the people that are saying, oh my gosh, I don't want to watch it. Well, they don't watch it anyway. Or they're not paying for their subscription, right? They're borrowing it from someone else. It may be a while until we see Zeus make any change because they're profiting from it.
Most definitely.
Those are the instances where it's very important like where lawsuits have the ability to effectuate the most change. Because here's the thing, y'all. This was filmed in California. You cannot film in California without insurance. You can't. So what happens is when these young ladies file their lawsuits, they are actually filing it against the insurance companies of these production teams. These production teams have $1 million insurance policies. So old girl who sprained her wrist can make a claim. This is Zeus. So we're talking about someone asked, what channel is this on? So yeah, old girl who sprained her wrist can make a claim. Certainly Amber who had her abs. And the thing of it is so $1 is probably not going to come from Zeus's pocket. Not one damn dollar is going to come out of Zeus's pocket.
Not that they haven't already paid. Not that they haven't already paid.
Instead, what happens is that when the next time that Zeus goes to get an insurance policy to cover their taping, because again, you cannot film a show in California and a number of other places without insurance in place. The next time they go to get insurance is going to be very, very expensive because they've had claims made. So that's also why it's important that, like, when you're hurt by an entity, you need to go ahead, step up, make a claim, and complain, because that's the only thing that incentivizes a TV company, a store, any place that's hurt you. They only get incentivized when their pocketbook gets impacted. And the way to do that is raise their insurance premium. No, somebody said I thought Zeus was a person. No, Zeus is definitely just the network. Yeah. So Zeus is a network. It's related to the All Black network. Basically, they were trying to be an alternative. They were trying to be an alternative.
I would definitely love to see the contract. Were we able to, because of we know that Joseline has a criminal history. Were we able to see if Balistic has a criminal history? Because that's another element.
Yeah, he does. I quickly read, his was related to drugs. His is related to something drug related. I very quickly skimmed his. He is a felon. From what I saw, he's not on parole or probation currently. So if he were on parole and probation and then this happened, then he'd be in big trouble, because you don't even have to have charges filed for your parole officer to revoke your parole. The parole officer could contact the show. They could ask for the footage, watch the footage, and determine that based on your behavior on that set, or even just associating with those people, you need to go back on in. Yep. It's that sensitive. Somebody said you need a hospital letter to get insurance to pay. And that's why Amber knew to get it. Yeah, definitely. Well, definitely you need hospital bills, especially in a situation like that, right? People all the time. So we're talking about Amber's ability to recover money potentially. And we can talk about that too. Basically, like, if you were to sue a network, how much money could you get for something like this? Now, here's the thing. They filmed in California. California has some of the most lenient juries in all of America. That's why, like, people want to get their cases in front of a California jury. I have a home girl, okay? She is like an old hoe, okay? She told me that years ago, she was like, oh, I got sexually harassed. I'm like, really? Because, you a hoe. But allegedly, she really did get sexually harassed. And it was by this man who was like an heir to the Coca-Cola fortune. Come to find out, she took that sucker to trial. She ended up getting the largest sexual harassment verdict in the history of California at that time. I mean, and that was for an old hoe, okay? Texas would have brought out all of her exploits and scenarios and situations and wouldn't have gave her a doggone dime.
They'd have went all the way back to MySpace, Black Planet, and all that.
Exactly. She got all of that. She's got all of that. So Nurse Mo asked, has Amber sued, or is she just talking about it? So what we've seen was a statement from her attorneys. So we have not seen that anything has been filed. And generally what happens is your attorneys will first send a written demand asking for whatever they want, and give them a timeline to respond, like 2 weeks. Then if we don't get what we want, because this is my area of law, this is what I practice, wrongful death, accidents, injuries, this kind of things. If at the end of that 2 weeks, you don't give us what we want, then we file our lawsuit. And the thing about it is sometimes privacy can be a big value. So the fact that, like, hey, you pay us, we're not going to go to the media and tell all that we know about your foolishness, right? And in all reality show contracts, even mine, there is confidentiality clause. But guess what? When you go to court on some shit, that goes by the wayside.
Out the window.
You can tell it. Yes. So some of the time they will settle with you before you file your lawsuit because they don't want all those secrets getting out.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps, for example, secrets about, like, if Joseline was doing drugs on the set, different things like that. They don't want all that getting out.
Especially if they start pulling up witnesses that can attest to the alleged remarks about security only protecting certain people, or that they were forcing people to fight, or that production told me to fight this person and I didn't want to. All that stuff under, the oath of the law could come out.
Right. All of it. And I strongly would encourage a young lady in that situation to sue Joseline and Balistic individually. Joseline really don't have nothing. I was very disappointed. So whenever I get ready to sue somebody on behalf of my client, one of the things that I do is I run an asset search. So I did a quick little search of Joseline. Y'all know Joseline don't even own a home. Joseline does not even own a home. I don't know if she done smoked that money up or what.
Woo!
Girl, how are you running around calling these girls basic D's and all of this? And you over here living in the Gables apartment, okay? You over here living in a all bills paid. Well, I don't know if all bills paid, but seriously, like all that money you have and you don't have any assets, any equity, especially because she's been living in Miami for a long time. And the property values in Miami have risen exponentially to where if she had put her money even into a basic condo, she could have earned a lot of equity. So that's just foolishness. Somebody said that's why Mimi did not want her around Mimi's daughter. I don't blame her.
Yes, but here's the thing, and this is another facade that they portray on TV. You're talking bad to these girls that want to so-called be where you're at, but you're not happy where you're at either, because you basically living paycheck to paycheck. You got all this designer from head to toe, but you don't have a place to call a home.
Absolutely. Nurse Mo made a good point. She said, maybe it's in someone else's name. Here's the thing about homes. You can't get a home in someone else's name because it goes by the mortgage. Now, what you could do, you could put your home in trust. So it could be in the name of a trust. Or if you are, you could do it in that way. But Joseline, she ain't smart enough to put it in trust. That you also raise a good point by saying it could be in someone else's name. Now, with Balistic having done federal time and federal offenses, a lot of times what those dudes will do, if they still owe restitution, right, then they don't want to try and get no homes or any big assets in their name because they could get seized. So those men will put it in stuff in other women's names and stuff, but that doesn't give an excuse for Joseline. That's all the more reason why Balistic would put a house or something in her name. But they just over here being ghetto together.
Right.
Well,
I mean, the house might even be, if you have the house is probably in Bonnie Bell's name.
Well, if you have a mortgage, it's up to your mortgage lender whose name is, right? Because they have a lien. So they will determine, they'll say, okay, Bank of America wants to be on it and whoever they've given the loan to. But if you don't have a mortgage, if you own it cash, you're right. You can put it in anybody's name. Somebody said she is hiding money in Puerto Rico. Oh, I truly would believe that. That Miss Jelenica. Somebody said these reality shows. Absolutely. Nope, she sure did. So let's go into, so before we wrap, and I've really been enjoying that. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments because we can go as long as y'all have questions.
Okay.
With my ADD, I don't want to ramble on you. But let's talk about how much money Amber can get and how a court would determine it. So the main thing when I have people call my office that I try to walk them through is try to figure out, like, what are you looking for? Do I think I can meet your expectations, right? Because if your hope from this is to walk out with $2 million, nobody can help you. I'm going to just tell you, like, you're not being reasonable. Okay. But okay, so how it works is the damages go by first. What are your physical damages, right? Her ribs, her medical bills for that. Not just today, but going forward. I mean, if you saw the photo of her ribs, they are like, they're out of place. They're bruised. They look all types of crazy. So obviously it would be your medical, not just today, but your future, going into the future. What will that look like? Is she going to have any disc herniation? Blah, blah, blah. But then people always want to say, well, I want my mental distress. Here's the problem I have with y'all want some damn mental distress. Y'all want the mental distress, but y'all don't want to go to see no type of doctor. How are you going to talk about I got mental anguish, but you don't want to see a therapist? And what I do a lot of times with my clients, okay, you don't want to see a therapist, you need to go talk to your pastor, okay? Join the church if you have to. Call Pastor John Gray. Call somebody. But if you don't want to do, or if you don't have insurance and you don't want to go to a to a medical therapist, then you can go to a church therapist. But you need to do some type of therapy to support a mental anguish claim. You just can't come in here and say, oh, this has made me really sad and I've been devastated because of my ribs. Because here's why. The minute you say, I have mental anguish, it opens a can of worms, because they then are going to look at all the other bullshit you have going on in your life before and after. So if you were getting into it with your ex-boyfriend and he called the police on you 6 months before, they're going to say, that's your mental anguish. So you just have to be prepared that if you're going to make that claim, to be open to the fact that they're going to start snooping in all your business. Okay?
I do have one quick question. So given their profession, if you mess up their body or their face, can they use that
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's called loss of earning capacity. Loss of earning capacity. So you have loss of earnings and you have loss of earning capacity. So what I would do if I had a client like that, I would use this. Now, old girl is very fit, but if she already wanted to get some work done, you better throw that quote in there. Okay. Okay, we're going to get the ribs done, but we're going to suck a little of this or that or whatever, and come up with a medical way to get it all done. But yes, because they use their bodies, then they also will get lost earning capacity includes lost wages. The cool thing about lost earning capacity is different than lost wages, because it just means I could have made this. So it's not the same as I had a job and this is what I lost. This is, I might not have even had that job, but I could have modeled for these people. Or I could have slid down the pole for this bachelor party that was going to come in town. Or, All-Star Weekend was coming to town and I could have made all this money. But I didn't, because she kicked me in my ribs. And now I'm laid out. That's what lost earning capacity would be.
Okay.
Somebody says, so Jocelyn wasn't the aggressor. No, it appeared. Well, it is vague. Even from someone says she charged at Jocelyn and Jocelyn kicked her. When you run up on someone, do not cry when they defend themselves. That's true. So I wanted to speak on that, which is because we haven't seen it yet, right, Deena? We haven't seen exactly. But when you heard her give her story, she said, I jumped up because I thought they were coming at me and then they jumped at me. Well,
so that would be that Joseline was the aggressor, but we haven't seen any footage yet because either nobody is bold enough to release it. Although I do know several producers and security quit that night.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So somebody said I talked to Amber and I told her less on the live, the better off. Absolutely. I have fired clients for saying too much on social media. That's number one. They think they're doing themselves a service, or sometimes just naturally, if people are coming at them saying you're a liar, da 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 da, it's a natural inclination to defend yourself. So that might be what she's doing, but that's what lawyers are for. Cut it out. But the problem and the biggest challenge the lawyers are going to have in this suit, right, is determining to what extent, if any, Amber has any responsibility for how this went down. And that's because under the law, there's something called contributory negligence. Now, every state's a little different, but in Texas, if a jury gets to decide what percentage, like what percentage responsibility does Amber have in getting beat up? What percentage does Joseline have? What percentage does Balistic have, as an example? And that number has to add up to 100. Here's the thing. If the plaintiff, the so-called victim, if her responsibility is 50 or 51% or more, she don't get nothing. Nothing, okay? If it's 50%, whatever the jury says you get, slice that sucker in half. That's all you get.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's where if you bucked up and you ran up on this person, your hands are not clean. Your money will be cut down according to how that works.
Does California have a stand your ground law where she could say that she felt she had to defend herself or in fear for her life?
No, California does not believe in that. They're actually really big on no guns and stuff like that. So no, they don't have anything that's like that. But I mean, they have a traditional self-defense, but they don't have the stand your ground. Also, all the facts are going to be taken into consideration, right? Including the fact that, at this point, it's a reunion. She's endured weeks of seeing Joseline hit people, talk crazy to people, do all of this stuff.
And Joseline has already put her hands on her one other time.
There we go. So all of that goes into whether or not it was reasonable for her to hop up and anticipate that Joseline was going to hit her again, especially if Joseline likes to announce her kicks. Joseline will say, I'm about to da-da-da-da-da, and then get to go do it. So if you tell me from across the room, you going to come over here and do such and such, as you're walking over here, I am going to be in my kung fu stance. I can't fight, so that's what I do.
Exactly.
Somebody said, security quit because they didn't want to be a part of it. Yeah, it's straight foolishness. But
definitely, I wouldn't want to be a part of it at all. I wouldn't want none of that attached to my name if I was there in the presence of that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, somebody said Amber put her foot in her mouth by saying that she snuck Joseline and punched her, and that was when Balistic grabbed her by the hair. So it's all a huge hot mess. I mean, I wouldn't take the case, I'll tell you that.
Right.
I wouldn't take there are more needy people who are far less culpable, I guess I would say, who are far more innocent. Somebody said, can it be called instigation? I think you mean if you're referring to like the way Joseline talked to them and everything, it certainly would be instigation, but and all of that just goes into, were her actions reasonable? But here's the thing with Zeus, and with the lawsuit, it's risky, but it could go, more than likely, if she were to go to trial, she would get something. And the reason I say that is because she gets something for the medical, even if she started it, because a lot of the responsibility can be placed on Zeus for creating this environment, even though there was the waiver. Because at the beginning, what we talked about is you cannot waive against deliberate acts. Waivers are for negligence. Think of it this way. When you go skydiving, they give you what? A waiver. Just in case something happens, you know, and you pull the parachute and it doesn't come out. That's what the waiver is for. A waiver is not, hey, everybody sign this to say you're not going to sue your castmates and go murder each other and go beat the crap out of each other. No. Therefore, I believe that in a court, they would not uphold the you can't sue civilly any of your castmates or Zeus for that matter under these facts. Not all the time, but under these facts where Zeus has a storyline built on fighting. Zeus was encouraging. Zeus was saying, come down here and fight one another. And if you look at all of their programming, their new show, The Bad Boys of LA, that's all they do. The Bad Girls, that's all that they do. So yeah, somebody says, it is an at your own risk type of agreement, but even at your own risk, there's a sense
you're
of
still protected by everyday laws.
Yeah, and
what's right is right,
example,
what's wrong is wrong.
Yeah, for example, even if it's an at your own risk situation, right? If a castmate shoots you in your face, you think you're not allowed to sue him? No, you can do that because even though you waived, your expectation is that we're going to get into some tussles as roommates or as people living in the same space, but you're not expecting to get shot. I think that's fair to say. And then, and the show has a responsibility to protect you from getting shot because you're on their premises, you're under their control, you're under the control of their security.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Drop a comment below. Do you think Zeus should be sued? The network Zeus should be sued, or that if anybody is going to be sued, she should only just pursue Joseline, Balistic, or her castmates? What do you think?
Corey Parson in the chat has a really good question.
Okay, let's hear
it. Can the security... Oh, you got it? Okay.
Hey, Corey! I was at elementary and high school with him. Okay, can the security or producers that left testify against the network like a whistleblower? Or would the NDA prevent that? Great question. An NDA, even if you sign an NDA, it doesn't cover court. NDAs, once somebody files something in court, you can sing like a canary. So NDAs do not protect against speaking out related to a lawsuit. And that's because you can't get to the bottom of a lawsuit. You can't get to the truth if no one's allowed to speak. So NDAs are just like for common conversation or speaking to the media, but they never, ever prevent you from speaking in court or talking to the law or talking to an attorney, anything like that. Yes, and actually a lot of the security probably will speak in hopes that they get immunity, because the security, if they were told, hey, hold this person, only protect Joseline, but let Joseline hit whoever she wants, they're going to be in trouble. That security company would be in trouble. So I could see them wanting to sing like a canary. What about a gag order? So a gag order is different. A gag order is actually an order signed by the judge that says you cannot talk about the facts of the case outside of the courtroom or amongst attorneys. And that is because when you're doing all that talking, it can taint the jury pool, you know, because jury members can read social media and stuff like that. So gag order is signed by a judge.
So a quick question for you, because Ms. Demita Joe in the chat says it's going to be interesting because there were other seasons. I have a feeling one suit will spark others. Is there a statute of limitations on any of this?
It's usually, okay, so this would be like civil injuries along the lines of a car accident, slip and fall, that kind of thing. In most states, it's usually 2 years from when it happens. So they got time.
Okay.
There's a few states, I think like Louisiana, where it's 1 year, but generally it's 2. So they do.
So maybe the girls from season 2, if it hasn't been a complete full 2 years, if they were injured or something happened on season 2, they could now come forward as well.
And in assuming that the one girl's law firm is a good one, I generally encourage people to use the same firm because you cut down on resources, you share resources, you're going to share experts and things like that, assuming that they're good. CG asks, can Balistic get charged for domestic assault? It would be assault. It wouldn't be considered domestic because domestic is girlfriend, boyfriend, you live with each other, or you're a family member. But he certainly could be charged with assault. And with him being a felon, they tend to be more likely to charge men with records with assault in the future. It's really going to just depend on what does it look like on camera. Does it look like he was protecting his girlfriend, or does it look like he and his girlfriend were jumping this girl? Yeah, somebody said, I think they all need to be sued, including Zeus.
Yeah, and I was kind of wondering too, since they did, well, actually they did go to Miami, so it's not allegedly. So they ran off in the middle of the night or morning to Miami, and everybody has stated like it's like they had their getaway car tickets, everything ready on standby, like it was premeditated. So where do they go from here as far as? Are they persons of interest to get their side of the story, or have there been any arrest warrants issued?
So at this point, there's been no arrest warrants issued. And actually, I haven't heard the Amber girl make any reference to criminal charges really much.
She had her police report.
That's right. You are right about that. So I would envision that the police are probably reviewing footage. And so they are probably demanding it from the network and reviewing it. And that is probably what made Joseline and her boo run off. Because after they said all that, Joseline did not realize that she can be sued for criminal charges. See, she just thought that contract wholesale protected her. But let me say this again. Even though that provision is in the contract, it doesn't stand up in court. And that happens a lot. If there's a provision in your contract, I don't care if it's your work contract or whatever, and do not use one provision to be like, oh, I can't explore my rights. For example, I had a young man, he had a provision in his contract that was a non-compete, but he was an attorney. It is illegal to have a non-compete in a law firm job contract. You cannot. And that's because if someone leaves and goes to another firm, they should be able to keep representing someone if that client wants them to. So my point was, it was in his contract, so he assumed that it was lawful, especially because he was a lawyer, and a lawyer put it in there. Similarly here, that provision.
He was sneaky. That was a sneaky lawyer.
A real sneaky lawyer. Here, that provision that says you can't sue your castmate. It's not valid because your castmate didn't sign your contract. Zeus signed your contract. So if anything, it would mean you cannot sue Zeus if you get into a fight with your castmate. But you can sue any of your castmates who did not sign your contract. And even if they did, there are certainly ways out. Yeah.
The show definitely needs to be canceled. Too many people are getting injured.
I'm seeing on here some comments that that the show has been pulled. If it has, that's great because it's of no use. It's no use whatsoever. And then Napson Beauty has written, she says, can any of the cast members receive a gag order if the lawsuit goes through? Here's the thing. Here's a cool thing about gag orders. It only pertains to the people in that lawsuit. So if other castmates are not being sued or are not suing someone in that lawsuit, they cannot be a part of a gag order. So for example, if Amber is suing Zeus, but not Wet Wet. Wet Wet can run her mouth all day, even if there's a gag order. And in fact, I've seen where people can't talk, but they'll relay a message to a friend and have the friend leak it to the media or whatever. And yeah,
yep, Amber can
file assault charges. And Amber can file assault charges. The thing about it, y'all, with criminal charges, a lot of people don't realize it is up to the district attorney whether or not to pursue the charges. So Amber doesn't have control over whether or not they pursue them. She can file them. Then the DA will look over the tapes, will look at Amber's background, will talk to people and decide, hey, was this just equal combat amongst crazy people? Or is this something where the criminal justice system needs to get involved? Because Lord knows in California, they got more than enough issues and problems.
Right. Definitely valid.
Yes, someone asked if the court could use Amber's videos against her. Well, that will be what they review when they decide if they're going to pick up the charges. So they're going to look at what she says, how she said it, I hit so-and-so first or what have you, to determine, was this self-defense by Amber? Was it self-defense by Joseline or any of the other girls?
And that's why Joseline took those posts down.
Like an idiot.
I mean, it's too late. It's too late because I'm pretty sure everybody and their mama screenshot them because I know I did. But I believe something along those lines is why Joseline took all those Mortal Kombat and all the other hurtful things she said. All those posts are gone.
Yeah, and I do think she has nothing to lose. Look, she has nothing to lose to file civil charges because how civil attorneys work is they don't get paid until they get money for you. So if you can find a civil attorney to file those charges for you, you don't lose a dollar. If you never get paid, all you've lost is your time. So I would say go ahead, find a good lawyer to pursue it and see what can happen. Because if nothing else, they are going to think really long and hard about whether they allow this behavior to continue. And most importantly, it looks like now they're not going to have another season. So Jocelyn may have to go back to the cabaret her damn self.
Yes, most definitely.
Pay
for them. She's going to be doing it like it's her court date. That's what she's going to be doing.
Not like her birthday, but her court date. I love it.
Do it like it's your court date.
I love it. Goodness. Okay, you got anything else for us?
No, I think based on what the people were saying in my chat from the other night, that's where a lot of the questions I had for you came, and then the ones we had here tonight. I think that's all. I'm so glad that you invited me on because I was asking for you the other night. I was like, "Where is Simone?" And there you are.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate it, y'all. In the comments below, drop some other either celebrity issues that you'd like for me to comment on and do a video on. There's one that's coming up this week that I need to do one on. But just, drop more topics that you'd like for me to break down. I love to do it. I particularly like to do it when we got a chat so we can engage and y'all can drop your questions because y'all got some great ones. All right, y'all.
And then Simone, since we're streaming on my channel too, tell everybody about your two channels and when you're what episodes you have coming up soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so definitely check me out, y'all, on my YouTube channel, which is called Girl, Is That Legal? Go ahead and subscribe, please, and then you can watch various different videos from there. My other channel is actually called Ages and Stages. And that is my channel with my boo, Rashid, where we talk dating, love, relationships, and we review Ready to Love, the current season. So Thank you so much. And Deena, I want you to plug your channel one more time and let us know what you cover on yours.
All right. So Deena AKA Christina on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And then I am currently on the Ready to Love panel with Kamisha Reviews on her channel. And then I also do Joselines Cabaret review on Mondays. And now we're doing Bad Boys Club also on Mondays. And then I also do Snowfall on FX on Thursdays. And then I have Self-Care Sunday and Hot Topics on Sundays at noon Central Standard Time.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me, girl. And I'll have to have you back. I really appreciate it. Bye.